I mean, honestly.
Honestly?
Come on. Just turn off the one that's it on. There you go. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, that works. That works. Is that good enough?
Yeah.
Everyone see it? Okay. Okay. This cable may fail randomly, so get ready for that. All right. Let's get started. Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming. Early morning. Glad everybody can make it. My name is Ember. I use she, they pronouns. And welcome to the Rise of Furry Music. So we're going to talk about a lot of stuff in this panel. I'm just going to, let's cover that first. So I'm going to talk just very briefly about myself. We're going to get right into talking about furry music, like philosophically. We're going to talk about our online history, some statistics I found about posting music in the fandom. I'm going to talk about how listeners can find the good furry music, how you as a fan can help artists as well, and if you're con staff or if you volunteer, ways that cons can help out artists. And then there will be time for questions at the very end, so if you've got questions, please hold on to them. I promise there will be plenty of time at the end for that. So just real quick, who the heck am I? Like I said, I'm Ember. I use she, they pronouns. I also make music as Daryl D. I maintain a huge list of furry musicians. It's been my goal to try to catalog like as many furry musicians as I can possibly find. Try to find interesting trends and data regarding the community. And I've also dabbled in hosting my own various artist compilation for furry music, just as a free albums to put out to the community. Now, so let's talk about some furry music philosophy and just sort of like the culture of the fandom. So you came to a panel called Rise of Furry Music, but do we actually does anybody actually know what furry music is? Like, if you had 10 seconds, could you describe what furry music means to you? Think about it for a second. Anyone want to be brave? Yeah.
I guess for me it would be like music that's made by furries and is like thematically about topics that like are important to a lot of us, like queerness and like self-discovery and shit, but also like furry branding specifically is a big part of it. IMO.
Yeah, absolutely. Like identity, queerness, furry branding. Anybody else? Anybody think they can describe it, what it means to them? Any ideas? Yeah.
I was just going to say, music made by artists who are also furries.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's pretty solid, pretty watertight. Yeah, you in the back.
Add to that any properties that are, tangentially connected to the furry fandom, like a soundtrack for, say, Robin Hood or something like that. Right?
Yeah, actually, ooh, that's something I have not thought about. That's very interesting. Maybe one last one. What about you? What does furry music mean to you? Yes, to you.
Yeah, I guess I would kind of agree. It's like music made by furries who claim the label of furry music. Because there are furries who make music, but I don't know if they would necessarily take that title, so.
Yeah, awesome. So we've got a couple of different opinions. I mean, my opinion, I really just kind of think it needs to call itself furry, like in some kind of explicit kind of way, and also be music. I don't think it has to like necessarily look like furry music, because I recognize not even all furries like have personas or make art or even like commission artists. I like the idea of lowering the barrier of creative entry, and that's sort of what sort of drives me primarily. But next up, I would like to invite special guests to the stage, Jaylaflame and Blackmajic, to talk about their thoughts about furry music.
Hello everybody, I'm Jaylaflame. I'm a rapper, singer, songwriter, and I'm a part of Magic Records. We also host a lot of various different panels and events, like the Digital Revolution Festival, Dragon's Dojo, hosted by my boy UDO.NORMI. But yeah, like, I rap, sing, do some cool shit.
I'm Blackmajic. I do production, engineering, sound design, like all that sorts of things for Magic Records, and I'm also one of the founders of Magic Records as well. So anything, pretty much almost like 95% of the stuff that you hear from, especially Pseudo here and Jay here, it's usually produced and mixed by me.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. All right. So I've got questions for y'all. What is furry music to you?
Furry music to me, I'll just say it's just our lifestyle. For us, we came up with something called Beast Members Only, and it's just us just being animals, group of niggas, and we come to conventions, turn this bitch up, and perform, and it's just just living our life. That's really what it means to me. Like I don't, we're at the convention already, so like they don't get no more furrier than that. So.
Like, yeah, I don't like to overthink it. It's just like, we make music and we happen to be furry, so it's just like, hey, I dig that. Like, I'm gonna be a person that's talking about some extravagant, like, story with my Fox character and make a soundtrack behind it. Why not? Like, if you think that's like not cool or crazy to you, then that's on you.
Yeah. Actually, I want to just, as an aside, are there any other things that you do, like, as furries in the music culture?
Like we said, we run this musical event called the Digital Revolution Festival, Magic Records. This is actually going to be the 5th one. It's happening tonight at the Rays. It's something where we decided to make it to showcase some of the best talent in the furry fandom, between DJs, rappers. We need some more vocalists. Tricky Stoop might be hitting y'all up soon. But we just wanted to bring the community together and give people a platform who don't usually have a chance to perform at the Raves, and use that in a sense like a stepping stone. Get their resume up.
I'm just ask them to do that too. And likewise, just how DigiFest was just like ultimately put together, we just kind of looked at it and says like, why don't we give in the main scale music industry stuff, you have like a lot of festivals, you have a lot of these different basically talent pools putting the shows together, and it's like, hey, why don't we do that too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi, by the way. My name is UDO.NORMI. I'm also part of Magic Records. I would say, music for me, and furry music in general, I feel like this is already a scene where it's rich in the arts, whether it's visual arts, performative arts, or whatnot. And I feel like there's, even though they may be different mediums from each other, for us we do music and whatnot, but it's music and art and dancing especially, they all go together so well. And I think that in a sense I see furry music as a sign of unity, a sign of unity, a sign of bringing peace and love and respect to each other in a community, because without a community there is no culture, there is no scenes, you know what I'm saying? So it's I see that as a huge community thing, and hey, we don't always all have to be musicians, we don't all have to be drawing artists or dance artists. It's just you do what you do and you just kind of stick with it, and then you just link up and network with the people that are driven just like you, or have are just on that same mind length as you know what I'm saying? So it's yeah, that's all there is to it.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much. Actually, I guess there's one final question. Trying to make sure this actually stays on the whole time. Yeah, do you have any thoughts of what you'd like to see from furry music in the future? What would you like to see it look like in the future?
I would say more collaborations between like the different groups. I could speak for myself. I know Gabu hit me up to work on some things. So like, we all see each other online. We see what's going on. We interact. But I think to really take this to the next level is if we really start working together, doing songs, supporting each other at each other's events, and like just have an open line of communication.
Exactly what Jay said on that end. Definitely just a lot of collaboration and building together, not only on just music, but even like different types of events and different types of events. Like sometimes I'd be saying like, well, I guess I say we find a way to be like inside furry or outside furry, whatever that means in a way, because like even then I would say like in events that would be put together outside furry, there's still gonna be a lot of furry showing up if you know that's where your community is. But yeah, I think like there should be a lot more collaboration on music and events, that a lot of the like artist group of people and everything, like it could be, I think it has the potential is up there for that.
I have like half serious, half joking answer. Where are my R&B singers at? I want more R&B singers around. Where are my R&B producers and singers at, and my neo soul singers at? Where are they at? Let me find out.
Yeah. There's Zenny. Yeah, there is Zenny.
All right, thank you all so much. Really appreciate it. All right, and to cap things off as we talk about culture philosophy, I asked a few other colleagues about what they think, like distinct points that make up furry music to them, going back to the original question a little. I got a quote from Will Toledo of Car Seat Headrest talking about furry music. And he said that furry music doesn't necessarily have to be even like exclusive to the fandom, but rather in terms of where the artist is promoting their stuff. And it feels like the label is more fulfilled if they're active in furry spaces. I've kind of interpreted this to mean sort of like, you don't just have to like be posting your music to Fur Affinity exclusively for it to be furry music. You can be posting it to YouTube and just sort of have like little hints or notes of furriness, but it's sort of like less of a binary thing and more of a kind of like how furry are you, how open are you about furriness, and how much are you contributing back to the community by providing your art and making it accessible to people. It's sort of promoting that image and that idea. I asked Ed St. Clair, a furry loser, that echoed a sentiment I hear a lot, being that it's really all about that furry tint that's presented through artwork or lyrical content. I mean, talking about being an animal, having a funny animal that you can put on the cover and like relate to, or like you see it and you instantly connect with it. Like it almost kind of doesn't need words. I mean, there's lyrics, but you know what I mean. And last as I asked Absurdist. And she told me, Dolly Parton, gay icon. I can't tell you why. She just is. And she's so real for that. But I feel this illustrates a really interesting idea too, that, I mean, so far we've been talking about furry music like as made by musicians in the furry fandom, or as musicians who like ascribe themselves the label of furry. But there's a lot of music out there that exists that's kind of like almost adopted by furries. Not necessarily like they want to like be like, I'm a furry and this is my furry song, and every song that I make from here on is now furry. It's like, what are some bats? Give me some furry adjacent names. I don't know.
12 rods.
12 rods, yeah. I mean, like 100 Gex recently put out the whole like pause lyric thing in that recent song. But for the longest time, it was sort of like, I don't know, is Car Seat a furry band anymore now that we're like 4 people and they're decidedly like angsty teenagers? Like, I don't know. All right, let's move on to the next bit. Let's talk a little bit about history and stats. This is mostly from my work on the huge list of furry musicians, just scrolling through like whatever crevice I can find on the internet for information. So probably the most interesting, to me at least, question is, who's the first furry musician? Like, we've, as a fandom, haven't really been around for like that long. Like, Conference Zero was like, what, 83 maybe? 89, thank you. But I think the best answer I can give is Comma C. Fox. He started releasing music online on his personal website, as well as on Fur Affinity came later, but like, he was like a really early adopter. He was releasing stuff like in the early 90s. Ride in the Arctic is the earliest release song I can find by him. But also, he's done like a lot of community work. He's not really active these days, but he kind of coined the term furry music in 1997. And he made this website called furrymusic.org and started the Furry Music Foundation. And it seemed like his goal was to create kind of like a net label and also like an archive of furry musicians. This is all like early furry musicians that many people might be familiar with, like Hallie, or two. But anyway, it seems like, oh yeah, and the Furry Music Foundation later went on to release like albums and CDs, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Another name I want to shout out for, as far as history is concerned, is Bob Drake. Bob Drake's been doing it for like a really long time. I kind of consider him to have released the first like in fandom album. He's described himself as always being interested in anthropomorphic animals, and it wasn't until in '93 when he kind of like found a scene that he could connect with. So he released his first album, What Day Is It, in '94. Although technically he has a recording of it from 1973, playing drums with his friends in a friend's garage. But this was released a year after his first FurryCon, and it feels pretty decidedly like this is an album influenced, or at least in support of, the fandom, and it feels kind of like a notable piece of art for that. And a last historic shout out, Bucktown Tiger has done some great stuff. As a notable early hip hop, and especially a piano furry, he debuted an album called Orange and Black, the first album in 2007. And he's always been like very openly celebrating fandom topics in his music. Stuff like, he's got a song called Guest of Honor, and a song called Duct Tape. You know, like a duct tape dummy? Anyone's made those before. All right, you guys are gonna head out. Well, can we give everyone at Blackmajic, Jayla and Pseudo, a big round of applause for being here. Thank you guys so much for being here. Really appreciate it. All right. Some of the mini little historical timeline. I'm not going to go too deep into the details. If you need a picture of this, I don't know, you can DM me. I'll send you this full slide. But yeah, this is sort of the mini timeline. I've got Object's earliest recording in '73, Comma C. Fox's first song in '93, What Day Is It in '94. Great Fox put out his first album, Hybrid Night, in '96. The Furry Music Foundation put out their first CD, like they did CD runs back in the day. And that was initially in '97, and then they followed up with Furry Fantasies in '98. There's actually Furry Fantasies 2, but I didn't have room on the slide to put it. And last is sort of Matthew Abel had been making music for a while, but he released a song called Prayer for Danny in '99. It was kind of like a notable song at the time because it was like specifically a song about a furry work. Prayer for Danny is a song about a character in Associated Student Bodies. I don't know if anybody knows that comic. Yeah. somebody who knows their history.
That's the comic that really got me into this.
Yeah. You're not the only one. Yeah, so let's talk about some stats. Again, I've got like probably about 452 musicians on the list right now. So these are just stats I've extrapolated from the data that I've collected. I'm Canadian, I speak English, I'm on the internet a lot, so like there's gonna be some biases, especially like I regular Bandcamp and for Affinity, and Spotify has become recently popular, so there's various like ways that the data is pulled, but let's take a look. All right. So looking at genre, I've created really gross assumptions about like what genre is and trying to group everybody into categories that made some amount of sense. I'll just cover each category individually. Various, singer-songwriter, rock, pop, none, we'll talk about that. Metal, jazz, hip-hop, ambient, classical, electronic, and experimental. Singer-songwriter being like folk music or like guitar only, maybe a cappella music. Rock, if it's got guitar in it and it's not metal, it's probably rock. Pop, if it's electronic music with vocals. None. This is for posterity because sometimes there'd be people who post stuff and then they delete it, and I don't want to forget their name, right? I want to keep those links around for somebody to pick up the pieces later. Metal music, yeah. Jazz, underrepresented. I want more furry jazz. Hip hop, yeah. Experimental, sound collages, and just like noise, stuff that's like decidedly not chill compared to ambient. Electronic, so this includes like everything from like chiptune to dubstep to breakcore, just like a whole menagerie of different like styles that are decidedly not trying to be like ambient or like experimental stuff. Hip hop and electronic, I feel like sometimes have a bit of crossover, but usually there's kind of like tonal differences that I was using to determine which song would be on like, or which artist kind of tends to produce more of one genre versus the other. Classical being any traditional music from any culture, and yeah, ambient music. The slow, beatless music, but like not meant to stress you out. My findings, electronic is really popular, actually. Yeah, 36% of artists make electronic music. That seems about right. What interesting is that there's like 18% of artists making rock. Like, I feel like that number's really jumped up in recent years. I could probably split electronic into more categories, but it still feels like it's kind of an overwhelming presence from the community. And I wish there was more furry jazz. I want more furry jazz. I also have been collecting the earliest known recording or publication from the artist on the list. So here I've got a list of 1973 to current. The higher a bar is, the more artists publish their first recording in that year. We got Bob Drake way over in the bottom left corner. He's the only one. Comma's next in 93. Great Fox in 96, and then sort of there's a little bit like an island. And the jump at 2006 is entirely because I record like for Affinity stuff. For Affinity didn't open until 2005, and most people using the site, like, I really, for some reason, haven't found artists posting music in 2005. I would browse for Affinity by like all of its audio files, but like even I'm not that like masochistic. Yeah, and then we've got trends of like way more people showing up in the recent years. Like this is the rise that we're seeing right now. Way more internet adoption. My theories for this being like, oh, sorry, actually, let me zoom in a little bit just in case. Yeah, 2006, etc. Something happened in 2011, I don't know what.
Maybe it's the Brony fandom?
Maybe it's the Brony fandom? That is true. I do.
There's overlap
there. There is overlap. There is
A lot
overlap.
of furry artists have like kind of jumped over since the show kind of ended.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Living Tombstone. Yeah.
Violet Pony could be easily considered
Oh yeah,
that.
Violet Pony, like, yeah, there's overlap for sure. Like, there's some like brony artists that are like very brony and then they didn't do anything else. I've tried to kind of keep it separated, but there's some people that jump over and like they mix and match. And Violet Pony's furry, but like, is Mike the microphone furry? I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Maybe.
He's a furry VTuber also.
What?
Yeah.
That's what he's doing now?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
The more you know.
Wow. Thanks.
The more you know.
Hey, I have a question. I'm
So
not a
it's
furry
Sadie Bob.
musician, but I love furry music, especially the techno. I love all those furry rave videos
Thanks, yeah.
on YouTube. I just have a question. How does the furry musician community deal with illegally downloading music?
Interesting question. I'll come back to that at the end when we do
Just so
the...
you know, I don't do it because I
Yeah.
want to cheat musicians out of money.
Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. I've got question sections at the end. There'll be plenty of time for that. All right, artists from founding date. Numbers, for me personally, I've noticed they correlate strongly with online computer access. Like, let's take a brief look here. It's kind of weird that there's a lot of artists picking up stuff in like 2019, and things are actually kind of pretty strong despite the pandemic happening. This is a really small sample size though, like only 48 artists maximum in a current year. But that's just the most I can extrapolate from the data. It may be that DAWs and recording software is getting easier to pick up too. And most furry fraternity artists, like I said, started posting music like mostly 2006 and onward. But DistroKid definitely helped with like the late 2010 boom that you kind of see like around this corner. Like streaming, I think, definitely has got on a lot more people like interested in making and publishing music, not just like doing music. I mean, I'm on the internet. I can only, if it's not on the internet, I don't know if it exists or not. All right, my final part of the presentation, advice to furries. So this is you guys, hopefully. Both of these QR codes will come out later. If you are a listener, or if you're interested in finding out more interesting furry music to listen to, there's a couple of pretty good solutions, in my opinion. Just briefly list them. We've got the Intro to Furry Music playlist on Spotify. Woo! 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 Yeah. We got What is Furry Music on Rate Your Music. We've got various furry music labels. We've got Bandcamp tags, but my number one piece of advice is just be willing to step outside your comfort zone. There's a lot of good stuff out there. So, Intro to Furry Music. Here I have actually Will, who is the curator of this playlist. If you wanted to speak a little bit about it.
Yeah. Hi, I'm realizing now that I didn't introduce myself before. I'm Will. Hi, I use they, them pronouns. So yeah, I guess a little over a year ago now, started curating a furry playlist. It exists on Spotify. It's also on like Google and like YouTube Music. Basically anywhere that I could like cross-post it, it exists. So it might be in weird places too. I don't know. Let me know if you find it somewhere else. It's automated. But yeah, I did it because like a common refrain that I would see online is like something would happen or someone would start like a thread like, hey, recommend furry musicians, and then everyone would pile onto it and it would just be a bunch of links that nobody clicked. And people would be like, I don't know what furry music is or who to listen to. And it was kind of just like a gap that I noticed in the fandom where nobody was actually, I mean, it's admittedly kind of low-hanging fruit, just like nobody really bothered to make a curated, continually updated playlist for the scene, and I know that these kinds of things exist for a lot of other scenes. And the idea behind it is just like, hey, if you're curious about music made by the fandom, here's a very accessible way to listen to a lot of like new stuff that comes out. And there are some biases built into it, like for example, it mostly features music with vocals. It's limited by who is actually publishing their music on streaming services. But the point of it was to kind of be like a way to dip your toes in and like take that information and like explore somewhere else. I would say like notable exclusions, because a lot of people will only upload stuff on Bandcamp, would be like Bob Drake, for example, is not on the playlist. Tanya Song, although this has changed recently because she's now on streaming services thanks to our alliance. But yeah, the reception to it has been very nice, so thank you if you follow the playlist and listen to it. I put a lot of work into it and like the programming of the tracks and everything. It's very fun.
Thank you, Will. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Does anybody need to take a screenshot of this slide? Screenshot. You're in person. Take an in-person screenshot.
Screenshots and QR codes.
Screenshots.
Shout out to screenshots.
Don't be shy.
All right, cool. Actually, yeah, I'm just like, I love this playlist so much. This is like the number one solution for me personally. Like, if you don't know where to start, go here. This is the answer. Just browse through songs. All right, I've also created my own playlist, selection of albums that I really like. I spent a lot of my time just listening to like new stuff that I've never heard before in an interest to see like what surprises me. So this is a Rate Your Music list I've curated over the years. I pick an album from an artist and try to find something that makes it unique to the furry music sphere. Like, if it provides an interesting sound that nobody else is doing, or if it provides like something of quality that I think makes it kind of like more interesting than other stuff that I've heard. It's got like little write-ups for each of the albums, so if you want to like hear a little bit about the stuff before you like commit to listening to it, then you can. It's kind of just at the whims of what I'm feeling that day and what the album made me feel. But yeah, this is another way that you can sort of like, if you like albums, this is definitely a place to start. Give everyone last minute, last chance, last call.
QR.
You're cut off. Okay, and we also have labels. So we have a lot of furry labels now, suddenly. I love that, by the way. Thank you. We had Magic Records here just a few minutes ago. They're amazing. Like, all of them are fantastic artists, and they often collaborate with each other, and it's kind of hard to like listen to one without listening to all of them. They're great. Although Tom Maru is my favorite.
Their live performances are also lit.
Literally. So good.
Yeah. We got Tricky Stoop.
Tricky Stoop.
Yeah, Tricky Stoop. Doing a bunch of like indie stuff, putting out tapes, like helping to sort of, it's kind of like syndicate a bunch of different artists and to help them like find each other in like the indie community. Friends House Records, very similar goal as well. Yeah. And there's also Oral Alliance, which is a recent addition to the label family. And yeah, they're great. They got so much music. So much music. Yeah. So if you like their vibe, go check them out. I want to make a half-hearted shout out to Bandcamp. I wish it was better. It's getting worse. But they do have a Discover page for whatever tag that you want, and that includes furry. So if someone has tagged their music as furry on Bandcamp, you can find it here. You can even like, if you go to bandcamp.com/discover/furry, and you'll find a whole load of different releases, not just albums, but singles and EPs too. And this is just whatever is selling, whatever people are liking. You can change the filter from best selling to like newest to find stuff that nobody has heard before, and you can be the first person. If that Petrov guy doesn't beat you to it.
Looking for Patricia Faxon showing up twice.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Robo Milko's there twice as well. Shout out to Milko. And also something that we discovered last night, there's this tool called Camp Explorer. If you go to campexplorer.io, you can take a screenshot of this too.
Yeah, it's like, oh, sorry.
Actually, no, please,
please
explain.
Oh, I found this a little while ago because I was trying to, when I had first started Tricky Stoop, I wanted to like find musicians to like reach out to like kind of support them, and I found that Bandcamp's search function is terrible. So someone fixed it. So if you go to campexplorer.io, you can like search combinations of tags. Bandcamp will usually limit the number of search results that show up for a tag, which is kind of bizarre, but campexplorer.io doesn't do that, so you can go back as far as you want. And yeah, it's like, it solves the Bandcamp search problem. So very useful if you want to go explore.
Hell yeah. Yeah, okay. So if you, yeah, hopefully that's given you more than enough to dive into as a listener. Do we have any like musicians who make music like here with us today? Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yeah, yeah, you're still valuable. So if you're a furry musician, like, or if you're just like a composer, it doesn't matter if you perform. If you're interested in job opportunities, I want to like shout this out because I discovered this like from making a dating sim. that there's a huge like furry visual novel community. Like there's a huge Discord, and they have like a job board and stuff. There's specific artists that actually kind of like specialize in scoring these kind of games. Like Anthemix, I think, made the soundtrack for Ad Astra, and like so many other Team Echo stuff. Hop, Skip, and the Chew Toys similarly does like VN soundtracks. Recently, Lizzie's Personal Army came out with the soundtrack for Knuckle Sandwich, which is like an indie game. But like the developers were like happy to be in cahoots with the furry musician. But I say this because visual novel developers already look inward to the community for like writers and artists and voice actors, and music really doesn't seem that far off from that whole train. I also, in terms of music promotion, like if you are a musician and you've got the money worth to like put some, try some interesting marketing tactics, I really want to see a furry music album that's put out with a promotional visual novel. Like, I want to see an album that has a dating sim attached to it. Like, I don't want to see a dating sim that has a soundtrack. I want to see an album that has a dating sim attached to it. And also something something I'm interested in as well is that Friends Without Faces has this cool premise of, the lore is Lychee is sent back from the future to warn us about the dangers of climate change. And she's this cute little ferret character, but she can only communicate with us in the real world through VR chat. And so Sorel's goal with Lychee is to like communicate and show each other, like to spread the message. And so there's like this really cool, I think it's Sunny Side Up, is the music video that has like VR chat portions and in real life music portions. And it's sort of this interesting, like, I don't know, I've never seen anyone do anything like it. I really want to see more people do stuff like that. VR chat music videos are becoming more popular also. I mean, just people performing to songs, which is helping them get a bit more traction.
She's like really fleshed that out too. She has like a map.
Yeah,
of, like,
I saw that.
Inside of like the coverage.
Hello. Yeah. If you are a fan of an artist, there's probably two best ways that you can support an artist that you love, which is talk about them a lot. Like word of mouth, I think actually helps quite a bit. We're still pretty grassroots, right? We're not like that oversaturated in terms of like furry music. Like I'm able to categorize whichever one I find, and I've only found like 450. I should be finding like 4,500. But so yeah, like my favorite tweet that I saw last year was somebody just saying, hey, here's 5 of my favorite artists that I listened to, 5 of my favorite albums by furries that I listened to last year. And I need everybody to go check it out. And it got like quite a bit of traction. I do think like a personal recommendation helps quite a bit. And also like, if you love someone's music, like just write to them, like say, hey, this album means a lot to me and I really appreciate you making it. Like it goes a long way. It really helps like boost the confidence of the artist and encourages them to produce more stuff for the furry community. If you are the money-having type, yeah, you can purchase the music on Bandcamp if it's available, or like through iTunes or Amazon Music. But the most effective way, I think, actually, to financially support a musician as a fan is to buy merch.
Yes.
Yeah. So like online merch is pretty great. It's like the profit margin for merch is actually like pretty nice because usually things are a bit pricier, but you get something nicer in return. But at concert merch is actually even more valuable. Like if the musician you like is touring, you go to see the concert, that's pretty great. But most of like the money that's made back from the costs incurred like going on a tour is returned from at concert merch. So like going to their concert and purchasing their merch at the merch table is probably the best way you could help a musician. But I mean, online merch also fantastic.
Can I just say something to the merch?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I love physical merchandise. I think if you're a musician, especially in a fandom that's so online and exists primarily online, a fear that I have is that a lot of stuff in the scene is going to be lost to time. So if you're a musician, my like call to action for you is to make your stuff exist physically, put it on tape, put it on CD, burn it on a fucking floppy, I don't know. I want there to be as much evidence as possible that all of this exists. So that's just my little merch thing. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah. I don't know how good they are in recent days, but I've always relied on and loved like duplication.ca for that kind of stuff. Like if you just need somebody to like put your stuff on a physical medium, duplication.ca. Okay, and sort of last as part for furries, if you are a con staff or a volunteer, first of all, thank you for your service. This con's like kind of crazy. There's like so many people. I don't know how. I could never imagine. Yeah, from talking with some furry artists who have performed at cons, they love the experience, but they do have like some thoughts about ways that it could potentially be made even better. And there are three main things that seem to come up when I talk to a few of them. Mostly, like, having smooth operations is really nice. Focusing on in-community hires is even more nice. And something that feels like it gets overlooked quite a bit is time. What I mean by that is, in terms of in-community hires, just try not to shortchange for musicians. There's so many new people like in the community, like you might be surprised that there's actually like a furry band like in your area ready to go. Like they just need a stage and like some heads up. So if you need DJs, there's furry DJs. If you need a band, there's furry bands. Hire them. If you don't know where to find them, you can make a submission form and put it up online, or you can even put it up like, I don't know, maybe in the area might bring the wrong vibe because you're going to get like local bands, furry or not, but furries are pretty online and we're going to be existing in our own online spaces. So yeah, I like the format that Amy had this year for like an online furry music submission form for bands. Like I want to see more of that. Yeah, but it's a really, I think it's undervalued how much like there could be a con and artist symbiosis, not a con artist, but a con and artist symbiosis. Because then like the con is supporting a local furry act, the furries are bringing in their friends to the con is like benefiting from like the entertainment value that the artist provides, and the artist like gets exposure from the con as well, and they get to have a great time like at the convention too. Like I think it's a win-win-win situation. And it makes me sad seeing that some cons don't always hire stuff that's in the community. Although, like, how furry a band is up for debate. So, you know, that's a decision to be made by whoever's doing the organizing. Smooth operations. It's great when everything goes great. Like, if you've got a concert that works really well and is entirely run by, like, the volunteer staff, like pretty much every concert I've ever seen, that's fantastic, don't change anything. But if you find like there are some lulls or difficulties experienced in like AV situations, or like bands are getting like kind of frustrated or upset with the situation for AV, it may be something to consider ways to pay for actual AV staff, or even just to have somebody dedicated on staff who is a dedicated concert supervisor. Like will not have their attention drawn from other stuff in the convention. It's probably asking for a lot because I know that time and money is really precious for conventions, but yeah. And keep artists in the loop, like communicate when you can, communicate what you know, communicate often. There really is no such thing as too much. And lastly is time. If you can confirm early that someone's gonna show up, like, hey, your band is playing at this con, give them lots of time to plan travels, to like take time off from work, and to get their stuff over, like especially a band that's got like real gear, like heavy stuff that needs to be shipped or taken on a plane. The more time they have, the better. And same goes for canceling, or if things are looking kind of shaky. If you're like actually not sure that they're going to be playing at a con, like if you can give them that heads up, like, hey, things are looking kind of shaky. If you can stick around, like that'd be great. But if this is like too financially risky, like we understand, just give them more time to recuperate their costs incurred from like planning these travels, especially if they've already started. And last is give them a sound check before the gig starts. I've heard some pretty nasty horror stories of just like the band is like they're scheduled at this time, there's no communication, they walk up and they have to start like doing their sound check with the audience in front already, and it's stressful. Just give them time before the gig starts specifically to do sound check stuff, AV stuff. Let them know if you have an AV person already, because like if you don't and they show up and they don't have anybody who can do dedicated AV, then nobody's doing AV, and then there can be no soundtrack. So, yeah, just communication time and community hires. It was a big section at the end, so just as a reminder of the takeaways, if you're a listener, just straight up check out Intro to Furry Music, or go look up some furry labels. If you're a fan, share your faves and buy their merch. If you're a con now is like a better time than ever to seek out new acts in the fandom. Right. Now we're just about done here for question panel, but if you make furry music and you've never seen this list before, there's a chance I actually already have you. But if you want to submit your stuff to the huge list of furry musicians, and you've got something out there that's already been like released, even if it's like on SoundCloud or like a YouTube video or just like a Twitter video, I will happily add you to this list. You can fill out the form, add your details, and I'll add you to the list. And if you find yourself in the list already, you can also submit like corrections if I got something wrong, like you actually don't operate like out of a certain country anymore, or if like your founding date is something different than what I've put, that kind of stuff. Or if you want to add extra links to your entry, that's another thing too. Oh, sorry, I'll give you like 5 billion years to like take a picture of this. But yeah, other than that, thank you everybody so much for coming to this panel. It's been awesome. It was really great having you. Does anybody have any questions?
I do.
Yeah. All right. Hi.
So, how do furry musicians deal with the prevalence of illegally downloading music? It seems to have gone down in popularity thanks to streaming and to a lot more cheaper but legal ways to get music.
Yeah. Ashley, do you want to answer this? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ashley of Ashley 9 Lives fame. That's me. As a musician that has people pirate their stuff, I think honestly I'm okay with it because it gets spread around more, and that's what's important. If people like it, then they'll buy your stuff on Bandcamp regardless if they already have the MP3 files. Like, it's not a big deal to me if people pirate my stuff. Like, I don't know, I'd just rather have more people know about it so more people can find it and pay for it if they actually want it. Or get it on streaming if it's more convenient to listen to it that way for them. I know it's different for a lot of people. Well, I know a lot of people that are like they're sticklers about like you need to pay for my stuff, and that's cool. But at least for me personally, I don't know, exposure will get you, I think, more in the long run. It's just my takeaway from it since I've been like selling stuff on Bandcamp. That's been the case for me so far, at least.
Yeah, I was gonna say I actually can't like speak to everyone's experience with this because I mean I'm not them, and I don't know what their piracy stats look like. I don't know where people pirate furry music. Maybe I should find out.
Soulseek.
Soulseek?
Yeah.
You're totally right.
Steal my stuff.
But yeah, it's sort of. I feel like two minds about this because on one hand, I mean, obviously I want people to be like earning what is fair to be making with their music. I wish this microphone worked. I want people to be earning what's fair for the music that they made, and in an era where people were selling CDs out of a music store, I think this was like maybe a bit more of a concern. Like a local band would have one person buy a CD and then share it with their friends, and then nobody would be interested enough, or even it wouldn't be possible to go to that physical music store and purchase another CD for your friend or whatever. But in the era of like online availability, I'm going to do the annoying thing where I quote Valve and say that piracy is not a price problem, it's a service problem. If you make something, whoever is making your product the most available, people are going to go to them to purchase it. If the pirates have a way that's making it easier for someone to go get their music than like a real storefront, then that's a problem. But Bandcamp is already so immediate, like so many albums on Bandcamp you can listen to in their entirety without paying a cent for it. No, like plays on Bandcamp don't amount to anything other than just a vague stat that you can track to see if people are seeing your music at all. Yeah, I mean, unless it's pay what you want, which I've noticed actually works decently well because there's people who can't pay for the music at all, so they just get access to it. Yeah.
I usually can't afford to buy music except during the holidays, so what I do is list as stream music for free on
Yeah. And so like it's a but personally, because I mean I made that big list, and my goal of this is to have an archive like our history online as well as our presence online. Streaming is volatile. Streaming is not. I mean, nothing on the internet lasts forever. Like Bandcamp someday might even collapse, and we'll lose like so much stuff to time.
Someday soon.
Someday soon, maybe. Songtrader bought Bandcamp, and
Well, I completely agree
yeah.
with you. I don't think that pirate people who pirate music should be punished at all. I used to do it. The reason I don't do it anymore is because I don't want that kind of punishment. There's so much fears over online security now. I don't want
Yeah.
to
I'm
getting in prison. But
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily wrong. I don't think all of us who used to pirate music or still do should go to jail or get fined for it.
Yeah, like there are punishments for it. But like I've not researched like what, like how strictly it's enforced. Like I'm Canadian, like I only know what vaguely happens in Canada, and it's mostly like if you are providing people the piracy tools, you're the problem. If you're benefiting from piracy tools, you're way less of the problem. Stuff on the internet is going to disappear. So actually, piracy kind of helps preserve things. Like in software development, this is a sentiment I hear a lot. Like stuff gets lost to time because nobody buys it, and then people want to know what happened to it after the fact, and no one has a record of it because nobody bought it. But piracy actually helps spread it a little bit. So like, I'm not going to officially advocate for piracy. I'm just saying it's really good at preservation, and it's really good at promotion. All right. Yes.
Okay. I've been a DJ at a non-commercial station just north of Boston since 1981, and I'm a furry. So I play stuff like Foxes and Peppers, I'd Made Too Much Pasta, and so on. And it's great. Now see, for Foxes and Peppers, for example, did a whole album, the one about BLFC, a Furry Tale, that was all about things like the Reds line and the dealers den and everything, and it was great. And I've had to play something like Suit Up, and I go, well, I have to explain fursuiting to people. But the music is great, and it doesn't have to just be for furry fans. As far as promotion is concerned, a lot of people, they make YouTube videos, and maybe they have an album, and they put every single track on there, and that's good, but some people are going to go, oh, I won't have to buy the album now, all the tracks are on there. But people should still go out and buy albums. However, getting your stuff on Spotify, Bandcamp, YouTube is good, as long as people eventually hopefully buy your albums.
Yeah.
But I'm proud to help the furry musicians. RaccoonRadio@gmail.com if you want to send me anything. That's pretty easy to remember. Raccoon Radio, Gmail. And I'll play it. But I mean, I'm a very rare person. How many DJs play furry stuff other than me? Not too many.
Yeah.
And I'm talking DJs as in AM and FM, not like spinning.
This
So
is something-
I'm proud to do it. And it's not easy. I know musicians, you know, think about all the gear you have to lug and everything to make like $50 or something, you know?
Yeah.
It's not easy. So I hope people, if you see a band here, go to the dealer's den, buy their album. Get an autograph. So, like I say, I'm proud to do it, and go out there, like you say, investigate furry music, and buy their albums, or the downloads.
That's something. Sorry, as an aside, I wish I had more knowledge about like DJing in the context of like, because DJs have been like so like pivotal to like the dance culture and like the rave culture of furries. It's something that like is actually really hard to archive online because so many DJ acts just like exist and they do touring and they don't need to have an online presence, or if they do, it's so minimal it's hard to like find out what they do, and so like it's been difficult. Thank you for your service,
No
honestly.
problem, yeah.
Because we need more like outlets for people to hear furry music that they've never been exposed to.
And of course, you know, we stream around the world, so when I play that stuff, it's getting played. Who knows who's listening to it,
Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
I know we talked about it a little the other night, but how do you feel about how it feels like furry music has been opening up to a wider audience, to people even outside the fandom recently? I feel like more artists are more accepting of the furry fans. You have artists like Floss and Malone who are commissioning furry artists for their music. You have people like Kendall who are getting on Adventure Time.
Yeah.
It feels like furry music has started opening up to a wider audience than it never has before. And how do you feel about that?
Yeah, like I think that's just kind of the best thing ever. Actually, this like Kendall's on Adventure Time. sorry, Post Malone commission.
Slothable.
Different man.
Sorry. But yeah, like, because, I mean, we exist as a fandom that just kind of makes stuff, and other people who get, like, pulled in or just see us incidentally, I feel like it becomes more, like, it gives us more credibility just as, like, we exist in society as we are, and we are making a statement by doing what we do. So, yeah, it makes me happy to see, like, furry music crossing over into, like, the rest of the world and suddenly taking music listeners by surprise. I said my favorite tweet last year was those like 5 album recommendations at the end of the year, like here's something I loved. But my second favorite tweet was like no shade, all intentions were good. Somebody warning that Car Seat Headrest is now listed as a furry band under Spotify, so if you listen to a lot of Car Seat Headrest, your rap is going to be furry. You're going to, like, people share their rap all the time. It's like, oh man, I loved hip hop this year, or like, oh man, I love like indie rock this year. And it's going to be like, oh man, I loved furry this year? Is Spotify trying to tell me something? Like,
Yes.
Like we're making people ask questions about themselves and their relationship with society and like culture and like what it means to them and how comfortable they are with it. Like, everyone's got their own journey and their own feelings about it, but I think it's only a good thing that we're present and that like we're unavoidable in a way. Any other questions? No?
Oh, I think there's one back.
Yeah, you in the back. So, do you want the microphone?
How do you feel about the, I've noticed a lot more people going around with instruments out in common streets, just playing music, whatever instrument they
The jam sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the jam sessions are like a really good step because I think like there's a lot of people who just like they play music because they love it. They like playing the instrument. A lot of what I've classified as like furry musician is in the context of like produces music that is heard for other people. Like specifically, like you record to make an album to show to somebody. You are getting a gig to play concerts to show to somebody, or you're a DJ and you're playing like at a dance. And it's a very like audience dependent kind of like life cycle. It's very capitalistic in a lot of ways, and there's a lot of people out there who just play musical instruments and want to like celebrate that and enjoy that. So I really think there can only be good things by having like good jam spaces at conventions like this. I've been too busy this one to participate in any of them, but I'd love to like see that come back and for other cons.
I think A&E especially is like really good at supporting like music spaces and stuff.
Yeah, like they know that people want to do it. They know that people are going to do it if they don't provide a space for it, which makes me really happy that people are just like that excited to play musical instruments.
There's like a piano upstairs for anyone.
Yeah, there's a piano upstairs. There's like
Yeah.
space for people to play at the top of the escalator. I was
Yeah,
enjoying.
yeah, after the escalator up there, they had like bluegrass people up there.
Yeah, I love that.
Playing like Turkey in the Stars.
I love that. Yeah, we need more of that. All right. Any other questions or comments? Yeah.
Just a thought, the spike in 2019 might also be attributable in part to the Brony fandom.
Oh.
Because that was the year the last season of Friendship is Magic aired, and the last BronyCon happened, and everyone was just like, well, guess I'm a furry now.
Yeah, I didn't talk about it during the presentation because this would have been a huge tangent, but like the differentiation between brony music and furry music, I have my own opinion about it, which is like brony music had its own community and was actually really well organized. Like EQD always had like new song of the day. There's like still brony music awards going on, like best brony song of 2022. Like they're still, or 2023, they're still doing it. Like they're really active. They're really well organized.
Like even to like go back to like the right about like Spotify, and so the way that Spotify does a lot of its genre tagging is that they'll notice trends in their like listeners' history and data. So they'll either do it by like musical acts that share like aspects of the music in common, or they'll be based on like regional commonalities, but they also do it by listener commonalities. And the pony tag in Spotify has existed like years and years before the furry tag started last year.
We just got a furry tag like last year.
The furry tag started in May of 2023, so it just goes to speak to how organized the pony community.
No
thanks to a certain playlist.
Also, BronyCon at BronyCon.
BronyCon?
Yeah, at BronyCon, instead of having a rave, they had a concert.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry, side tangent. Eurofurence has been really, like, back in, like, the mid-2000s, was, like, really good about having, like, regular concerts. In fact, the Furry Music Foundation, like, they're based out of Europe, had, like, this thing called the Fauna Project. They got a bunch of musicians together and they wrote original songs and they performed it at the convention. And there's this video online from Eurofurence, like, highlight reel of 2007. It's in Audio Streams. I posted it at some point. About like, here's like all the cool stuff that happened at the con, and also here's the concert, but like in a trimmed down version. They said the full version is going to come out with the DVD, and there's like forum posts asking like, where's the DVD? And it was like, maybe next year, and that was like 7 years ago. So yeah, like people want it, and I really loved how organized like Eurofurence was for that, because they kept doing like concerts like year after year for different bands, and the Fauna Project was just their own like little self-made thing from like artists all across Europe coming together at Eurofurence to do that stuff. So like I really do think there's generally space for like having like, I don't know, a concert rotation, or like having a even just like a specific concert event of furry music as its own convention. It would be kind of like a dream come true to me, because I don't know, it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of like support, and I love what we have now, but I would also love to just like go to a concert festival that's literally just furry musician after furry musician, and just like be exposed to something new that I've never seen before.
There's a team in Connecticut that's doing a small thing. It's only like 20, 30 minute sets, but there is a team in Connecticut that's starting something like that.
What is their name?
There's actually a poster for it in one of the elevators.
Oh, really?
I think so.
But yeah, Ashley Nine Line just performed there in
Arctic Audio. Yeah,
dude, that was so surreal.
Yeah, Arctic Audio
There was
is
like
what
a
I want.
straight
Food
jacket
Fest is
thing,
what I
it was
want.
really
Yeah, I love seeing those. Yeah, Arctic Audio. Yeah. Yeah, so that's the kind of stuff I think like it's already taking off, right? Like we just need to see more of that. I would like to be able to like not have to take 2 flights over here in order to go see my friends and also see good bands perform in the furry community. Yeah.
One point I think you brought up a little bit of is that when booking musical acts, whether they're DJs or concerts for a convention, you usually have to get your hotel room months before they decide who's going to perform. And usually they're making the performance decision so close to the convention that the artist can't get a flight to the convention now because you've waited 2 months longer than you should have for making that decision. So that's got to be factored in as well, not just, that not when the hotel room's open, that's kind of when you need to have your decisions made for who's going to be performing at the con, so that they know book a room or not, book a flight or not.
Yeah. Like I don't have personal experience because I've never like been booked as a concert performer at a convention, but that is roughly what I was hearing from like my friends who were telling me. Like this has been my experience, is that it's just really, it's kind of exhausting because you don't know, and you're just waiting and hoping the decision gets made soon, and there's really just no time. It's just kind of like you have to act quickly on decisions made that have had a lot of lead up time, and it feels like there could be a better way to do it.
Avian Invasion just had to cancel 2 convention appearances because they waited so long to say yes or no, he couldn't get flights to the conventions. And had to cancel hotel rooms that were booked 4 months before they made the decision.
Yeah, it's a real shame. Like, just there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a way to give them more time.
The point was made before about the interest in physical merch and such. For DIY artists, do you and Will have any advice for artists that are maybe trying to find outlets to get their stuff printed physically?
Actually, my secret third co-host.
Organize your own shows. Like, there's no rules stopping you from just like getting together with your buddies and like putting a show on. Do some stupid punk shit in like a hotel room. Like, I don't know. It's fun, and people will come and find out about it, and the community will grow and grow and grow, and it will inflate big and round. And it like, I don't know. Just DIY. Do that shit yourself. It's easy. It's fun. It's free. Well, it's not necessarily always free, but like,
Or easy.
yeah, or easy. But yeah, it's just get together with your buddies, put some shit on. That's how everything starts, you know. We're all just working up from the ground floor.
Or grassroots.
Yeah, we're
Specifically
grassroots.
printing physical media,
Yeah,
like
printing physical
CDs
media.
and tapes.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I don't know if you wanted to speak to this one.
Yeah, so it depends on how you want to approach it. If you want to go super DIY, like I think burning CDs is probably the lowest cost, lowest effort thing to do. As far as like if you want to have a service do it for you, there's like National Audio, there's duplication.ca, which does like jewel case packages. I, for Tricky Stoop, work with another label based in Chicago called Blue Light Tapes, and they do like small runs for artists, because I think if you want something professionally duplicated, if you're not going to do it yourself and like spend $400 to $500 to like get an actual like old stock tape duplicator, a lot of places will have like a minimum run of like 100, which is kind of out of reach for a lot of people, especially if they're like super small. But there are definitely places out there that are kind of working in the DIY space, and you can have a run of physical merch for like less than $100, like 100, 150.
We just find a friend who has a stupid expensive cassette deck and
Literally.
That too, yes.
Yeah, thanks, Smokey.
Yeah.
You usually pick
Yeah.
the high-speed dubber for like $50.
Where are you finding this?
I don't know. I bought one at this like there's like this stereo equipment store in New Haven, Connecticut. And I bought one. But I don't know.
Roll the dice.
You
Yeah,
should look around.
whenever I look
People sell them on
online.
like Facebook Marketplace for like $10 or something.
Yeah. Just keep an eye out. If I can speak a bit to this. Like I tried looking into this because I put out music and I wanted to start getting like physicals made. Like I just did my own CD run. It wasn't too bad. Like I don't know, go to the Staples, go buy like some their old stock of scratched up jewel cases and like old CDRs that if they had an expiry date they would have expired by now. And then like it really just can be as simple as like buy a flat pack CD tray thing and a bunch of CDRs, and then like print out a little square and then cut it out with scissors and then sell that as merch. A really underrated piece of information given to me by my friend Numbers of Floral Tattoo is that anything can be merch. If you, what was the band that was selling literally like rocks on their Bandcamp page?
I got like Tamagotchi from a band last year.
Yeah. Like literally just like rocks from their Bandcamp page. Like anything can be merch. Like people want to support your music if they love it. And while like traditionally having a physical, like it's kind of a remnant of the past in some ways because we don't need the physicals to listen to the music. Like we approach the music online, it's always available to us. Like that's kind of why I was saying like piracy has almost kind of been defeated by the fact that buying music online is like so easy now if you make it available, and otherwise it's preservation because streaming services won't last forever. CD runs don't have to be fancy. If you want them to be fancy, duplication, it's great. Tapes, don't do it yourself. I mean, because duplication does tapes as well, don't they?
Yeah, they do tapes. They
Yeah,
do
duplication
CDs.
does tapes and CDs. They do DVDs and as well, like if you want to get crazy with it. But anything can be merch. Just give your fans opportunities to like buy your music and to like really invest in something that they care about. And get familiar with going to a print shop and just ordering stuff. Like get yourself business cards and learn the process, and then work your confidence up to getting physicals and stuff printed, like CD trays. Yeah.
this is more just curious. What's your music?
I said at the very beginning, I make music as Daryl D. DARYLDEE. .bandcamp.com.
One of the realists.
Realist thank you.
Realist in the game.
My laptop is completely dark.
What's the password?
Longer password.
Everybody coming around.
Yeah. Okay, just as a reminder. Any other thoughts, comments, questions? Yes.
This is less a question, more of just like a comment on everything in general. I think one thing, I was trying to think of something that I thought of something after seeing this presentation for like what I think furry music is. I think one of the binding aspects of it is the fact that a lot of it, like 99% of it happens in like a close-knit internet community. And a lot of those spikes we saw on the graph was usually when like internet stuff in general had a huge spike. Like that one little poll in 2011 reminds me of all those videos of stuff like Rainbow Tylenol when that was a thing. Like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah, like ITP. Oh, actually.
No, that's actually.
No, that might actually be the explanation for it. I hate that.
Probably was. He said it's kind of surprising the pandemic had a big spike, but then again, like everybody was on the internet.
Yeah, like general online adoption and like social media being like the popular place to be, and then people started like becoming their own brands and stuff. Like it's almost kind of like scary, like looking at stuff like this, being like, damn, I've been alive for all this time and I've seen the world change, and I have something to reflect that. That's kind of scary.
A lot of people at home alone, not a lot to do, but make music.
Yeah, like I was initially the biggest spike in this data was like 2020, and then I kept finding more artists and the data kept changing, and I was like getting more confused of what the heck was going on. And this is still not a huge sample size, right? This is only like at maximum 48 artists started making music during a single year. Like data science would probably like crucify me for this.
And like also the point that like this is when the artists started.
Yeah.
But like for all we know, the artists like started like put their first thing out in 2019 and then became notable in 2020 because they had nothing better to do than make music.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm wondering what your thoughts are on what's happening in 2023 in your data, because it seems to just be quite an outlier compared to previous.
It's me not finding everybody because it takes me so long. Like I spend a lot of time like really just combing through stuff and like following dead links and like looking through the Wayback Machine, or just like, I wonder who this person collaborated with. They don't have anything on Spotify, but what happens if I like Google their name and then like look for like a Bandcamp page with their name or a SoundCloud page with their name? Sometimes I'll see like an artist deleted their Bandcamp page, but if I look up their name, I find like an associated, like I found someone's like Patreon profile with a profile picture image on it, and I reverse image searched that, and it didn't take me to the artist, to the musician, but it did show me like who it was commissioned for, and that person is the musician, but they don't have any music up still, so I couldn't like add them back with the link and stuff.
I'm willing to bet in the aftermath of the pandemic, a lot of people released their second album or second single in 2023 because they had the opportunity to do the first one during the pandemic.
Yeah. That's something I kind of regret that from my methodology, because I mean, I don't want to spend more than like 5 minutes per artist because there's just so many of them to go through when I find a new one. So I don't feel like I have an effective way of categorizing like how active a musician is, and like this is something that actually I should probably look into in terms of like automating getting this data in, because right now it's literally just copying and pasting 450 times. But yeah, because I know that there's people who have started like way early on and then they release stuff over the course of like a certain year, and it'd be cool to see like who is releasing stuff when. Like, yes, like we got all these new artists, but did everyone release something in 2020? Even like the really old people? Like I'd be curious to find that kind of stuff out too. I'm just like, I need a better methodology. This is the best I've got for the moment. So check back next year. Any final questions, comments, thoughts? Yeah.
As someone who's aspiring to become a great musician, what audio like system like software?
I am a big fan of Reaper because it's free. It looks complicated, and I mean all software is complicated. In fact, Reaper is kind of like a rare beast these days because nobody wants to make you feel overwhelmed when you use their software, Reaper just kind of like takes the gloves off. You open the options menu and there's like 30 different right-click options associated with it, and you're like, what the heck? What does it take? What is this? I've only found it really useful because before I started making electronic music, and like I was making electronic music in 2015, and these days I'm just doing like guitar recordings from my amp and vocal recordings from that, and then like a MIDI drum set. And Reaper does everything I need for that. It's free. There's so many good YouTube resources on it, like Reaper Tips and Let's Talk About Reaper, both fantastic YouTube channels. Yeah, you just have to be willing to like put a piece of software on your computer, sit through a 5-second registration screen, just like WinRAR. It's literally WinRAR. It's the WinRAR of DAWs. And you can learn about like how to write MIDI music in sequencer. You can like set up stuff for recording. If you like audio interfaces these days are so cheap. You can get like a Behringer for like $60 or like $50. I mean Canadian. That's like $2 American. And that's like your portal to like that and like a XLR mic, or you can buy Blue Yeti. Nobody cares about the quality of your microphone. Just have a microphone. Use your phone. I don't know. I've seen so many really good albums released just recorded on somebody's phone because like they put a lot of heart and soul into the performance, and maybe they added like a tiny bit of like tape distortion afterwards or something just for fun. Like they found a plugin for free online. Plugins for free. .org is pretty nice. Yeah, but otherwise, I don't know. If you want to make electronic music, it's probably maybe a different story. If you want like sample packs already built in. I got started with FL Studio because the demo is free, and you can actually export sounds using the demo. You just can't reopen them. So if you are the kind of person that never turns off your computer, first of all, you're insane. Second of all, it's totally like, it's actually kind of a better mantra because you have to sit down and make something in one sitting and then export it and then put it up online, and you can't go back to it. Like I really do think like just getting used to the process of making something and putting it out there and starting the next project is the way to get started, like as any kind of creative person. Music especially though. So yeah, I like Reaper. You can make songs in Audacity, dude. Yeah, and the back corner.
Just more so a comment on that. I do agree exactly with you. I do the exact same thing, and I did the exact same thing. And what's great about saving the music project is eventually, if you actually have enough money to buy the real FL Studio, you can open the projects that you've saved and go back to, like I did that. So for years, I just saved a bunch of stuff and couldn't open it because I had the downloaded version. And then when I eventually bought it, I could go back to the stuff I made years ago and just look at what I was doing back then.
Yeah. And again, not to promote piracy, but I've known so many people that have just straight up tracked FL Studio because they literally were not able to afford it, but they got so invested in the free demo and they just kept going with it. And then they paid it back afterwards. That's probably not legal, and I don't condone that, but I've heard a lot of people do that.
Do it.
No piracy in this household.
Media preservation, not
But media preservation is really important. You're absolutely right. Please preserve all media as much as possible, as legally as you can.
Preserve the crack.
Don't go look up YouTube-DL or anything. Yeah. Any lasting questions, comments? Are we good? Yeah. Thank you, everybody, so very much for coming.
Sorry, I only saw like 15 minutes of this.